Welcome to another episode of AutoMundial, the weekly car news and review show where this week we're looking at a hardcore hot hatch from Renault.
And we have a V8 SUV from Mercedes, as well as the latest version of the wonderful Triumph Rocket. All that and more is still to come. First though, the Mulsanne, Bentley's flagship model, was due to go out of production early this year. With the new flying spur now on sale, the big Mulsanne was supposed to hand its crown over. But due to the current factory shutdown, its 10-year reign will continue until the summer. To celebrate the Mulsanne's legacy, the final special editions mark the end of the production run, as well as the 60th anniversary of Bentley's famous 6.75-litre V8 engine. Bentley has also released a romantic film celebrating the life of the Rolls-Royce rivaling Mulsanne, compiling several of the model's memorable highlights over the past decade. From the world's first glimpse in 2009 through to its final encore, the Mulsanne will certainly be missed.
Have you ever wondered what you'd get if you crossed a military jeep, a supercar and a limo? Well, this is the answer. The outrageous Mercedes AMG G63. One of the few true motoring icons, the G-Class has slowly evolved over the years whilst remaining virtually unchanged cosmetically. For this latest model, however, it's all new. No, really. While it may look like any other G-Wagon at first glance, look closer and you'll spot the new front end, its wider and longer footprint and much narrower panel gaps.
It keeps the details we've come to love, like the external door hinges, rear-mounted spare wheel and wing top indicators. But it's modernised with smoother lines and LED headlights. It still manages to turn heads wherever it goes, for good or bad, with its boxy shape standing out among the sea of bland SUVs. The interior's had an overhaul too, and it's just as substantial. Mercedes has somehow managed to make it look modern and traditional at the same time, with a plethora of S-Class derived screens and gadgets mounted in the classically blocky dashboard. The seats are heated and ventilated and endlessly adjustable, and cabin materials throughout are top class. Everything you see is leather lined, and you can even change the colour of your ambient lighting. But then you notice the chunky grab handle in front of the passenger, the upright windscreen, and right in the middle of the dash, 3 buttons to lock the differentials. It's still an off-roader then. In fact, there are few vehicles in the world that can outperform the Big G across rough terrain. The Jeep Wrangler may come close, but it doesn't offer anything close to the levels of luxury you get in the Mercedes, and certainly not the performance.
This is where you realise just how much of an update the G63 has had. In the old models, the AMG engines would be detuned from other products because pumping too much power through the old chassis would have simply been too much of a handful. In this one though, it gets the full fat 4-litre bi-turbo V8 from a GTR. Power is a staggering 577 brake horsepower, meaning the 2.5-ton box on wheels can get from 0 to 62 in just 4.5 seconds. Top speed is sensibly limited to 155 miles per hour, but that's still hugely impressive when you factor in the aerodynamics, which are roughly on par with most small buildings. Put your foot down and you're encased in a symphony of V8 hellfire from the less than subtle side pipes. It's dramatic, to say the least, and a constant devil on your shoulder encouraging you to go fast and make noise. In old AMG-tuned G-Wagons, it was all fun and games pressing the loud pedal in between corners, but going around them was a different story. The immense bulk led to catastrophic lean, and it was all just a little bit silly. Now though, the G63 can actually corner. Just about. You'll never confuse it with a mid-engine sports car but the chassis is a world away from that of the old one. The histrionics have largely been eliminated, but the old car's character still remains. Throw it around and you'll notice the sharper steering and better brakes, but it's not as car-like as a Porsche Cayenne Turbo or BMW X5M.
Speaking of which, those looking for a fast SUV are spoiled for choice at the moment. And it isn't just Porsche and BMW that offer alternatives to the charismatic yet ultimately flawed G-Class. Mercedes itself has another V8-powered luxury SUV, the GLE 63S. Using the same 4-litre twin-turbocharged engine as the G-Wagon, the GLE offers up even more power at 603 brake horsepower. It accelerates quicker too, hitting 62 in just 3.8 seconds. It even gets a 48-volt mild hybrid system using an electric motor to develop an extra 22 horsepower. Inside, it's just as luxurious, with pretty much all the same equipment you get in the G. So why go for the big boxy car when the GLE offers more performance in a sleeker body? Well, the GLE lacks the effortless charm of the G63.
Yet, while the G63 may sit in a similar price bracket as its more mass-produced rivals, it doesn't actually need to compete with them at all.
You see, no one buys a G-Wagon instead of anything else. They buy a G because they want one. From humble origins in the army to chauffeuring VIPs around Hollywood, the G-Class has had a remarkable 4 decades in production with ever-increasing popularity. It's fundamentally ridiculous when compared to anything else. It's expensive, tricky to drive, and don't even ask about the fuel economy. But it offers something few other luxury or performance SUVs can: a sense of fun, and we can't help but love it for that.
The new 2020 Triumph Rocket 3 is the biggest production motorcycle money can buy. But is this new 2020 bike as impressive as previous versions?
There are 2 models to choose from. The R is the red one that you can see in the footage. It's got mid-mounted pegs, a slightly taller seat, specific bars, a smaller screen, and a few other defining design specifics. The GT is the silver and black one. That has the feet-forward controls, swept-back bars, a tiny little sissy bar out the back, and a larger screen. The R weighs 291 kilos, the GT 294. That new triple-cylinder motor is 2,458 cc's in capacity. The weight saving that's gone on in the drivetrain alone is massive, 18 kilos, I think. It produces 165 brake horsepower and 221 newton-meters of torque. There's an all-new frame, 50% lighter than the old Rocket 3 one, thanks to extensive use of aluminium. They've also used Ali in the swing arm, which houses the shaft drive, and the all-up kind of weight shaving here and there nicks and tucks that they've taken give us a massive 40-kilogram reduction between new Rocket and old Rocket. Shower forks are 47mm and adjustable for compression and rebound. There's a fully adjustable shower unit at the rear and it does a fine job of keeping everything in check. Brake-wise, we've got Brembo M430 calipers at the front, 2 of them, and a single M432 out the rear. That caliper at the rear gives a real indication of the weight that needs to be controlled with this bike. That fuel tank is 18 litres and it props up a TFT dash that I've seen before on Scrambler 1200. Ditto the backlit and easy to use controls that are on the bars. So using those controls you can access an impressive array of power sapping riding modes, a cornering traction control, ABS and a host of other riding mode gizzards. And as we saw on the Scrambler 1200 there's also a turn-by-turn navigation system and GoPro ability that you can all control through those bars. That motor is monstrous in every single sense. It offers immediate, mind-bending drive the second you pick up the gas. It's not dangerous, it's not lurching, it fuels really cleanly. You just have to remember that this isn't a 6 or a 750 or a 1000 or even a 1500. It's a 2.5 litre bike. I jumped between R and GT, but I was drawn to the GT more and more each time I'd ridden the R. I think it's a bike that suits me more, and I think it's a bike that's worth the extra money. In terms of numbers, the red one, the R, the base spec model, that's £19,500. The silver one, 20,200 quid. Is it worth the 700 quid premium? Absolutely, 100%. Triumph have said that this is the GT version is obviously the one that's suited to going a little bit further and being a little bit more comfortable for longer. I don't think it really boils down to that. The performance that both bikes have is identical in every way. Granted, there's a little sissy bar out the back on GT, and your pillion would need to be brave, fairly small, but they would be comfortable. It's just a better bike for me. That's the one that I'd go for. If you're in the market for either, you've got to test ride them both. I'm sure, like me, you'll be drawn to the R, but once you've had a spin around the block on the GT, you might find it suits you more, like it suits me.
After the break, a new city car from Hyundai and the Renault Megane Trophy R. Still to come, the maddest hot hatch of the moment, but first...
In recent years, the market for entry-level city runarounds has taken a real hammering. Cars like the Ford Ka, Suzuki Celerio and Renault Twingo are being pulled from showrooms, leaving little choice for those who still enjoy back-to-basics low-budget motoring. Thankfully, some manufacturers are keeping the segment alive. The Volkswagen Up and its sister cars are all still selling well, while the Toyota Aygo and its French counterparts, the Peugeot 108 and Citroën C1, still offer great value. But this time, it's Hyundai that's looking to steal the city car crown with this, the all-new i10. Debuted at last year's Frankfurt Motor Show, the 2020 i10 promises to be the best version yet, with more tech and safety equipment than ever before. In fact, Hyundai is calling this the most high-tech city car on the market. But while the VW Up is an ageing model with modern add-ons, the i10 is brand new from the ground up. It's lower and wider than the old model, complementing the fresh look. The big grille, LED lights and two-tone colour schemes make it look far more modern and up-to-date than its predecessor too, with various trim levels on offer, including a sporty-looking N-Line model that hints towards a future hot version to rival the Up GTI.
And while it may be getting on a bit, it's the Volkswagen Up that the Hyundai needs to beat. The cheapest car in the VW's lineup, the Up offers the legendary Volkswagen build quality in a small, affordable package. Few small cars feel as solid as the Up, and the styling has stood up to the test of time with only minor updates throughout its lifespan so far. With a fizzy little 1-litre 3-cylinder engine, the Up is fun to drive, especially in sporty GTI form, and manages to hold its own on the longer motorway drives where it remains quiet, if not particularly fast. However, in an effort to cut costs, the Up's interior does feel a bit bargain basement in places, with plenty of scratchy plastics and questionable materials. The lack of an infotainment system is also an annoyance, despite VW's smartphone cradles stuck clumsily to the top of the dash.
So, how does Hyundai's latest offering compare? Well, for starters, the cabin feels much more modern. It gets a new 8-inch touchscreen, which is largely the same as the i30's. It sits neatly on the dashboard and flows into the instrument cluster. It's linked up to Hyundai's BlueLink telematics app, which allows you to find parking spaces, petrol stations, and points of interest from your smartphone. It also comes as standard with Android Auto and Apple CarPlay, making it a significant step up from most of its rival systems. It gets plenty more tech too, like the reversing camera, wireless phone charger and tons of safety kit, including forward collision warning, high beam assist, lane keep assist, driver attention warning and a speed limit alert. The rest of the cabin is more spacious than the old car thanks to its slightly bigger dimensions. Boot capacity remains the same at 252 litres, but that still puts it at the top of its class. Everything feels really solid too, with an air of quality that used to be reserved for German models. It actually feels more premium than the VW, although we do prefer the up styling. Two engines are on offer, a 1 litre and a 1.2, both carried over from the old car. Neither is especially powerful or groundbreaking, but the potential for a sporty version has us very excited indeed. For now though, the i10 is finally a real contender for the city car crown.
We've spoken a lot about the Renault Megane RS here on AutoMundial. It's one of our favourite hot hatches of the moment, particularly the racier trophy model. And while neither the standard 280 or the trophy can quite match the Civic Type R for outright pace, its softer edge and more handsome looks make it a truly appealing car. But it seems like the Renault Sport engineers have had enough of playing second fiddle to the Honda. In fact, they seem to have gone completely mad. Welcome everybody to the ballistic Megane Trophy R. It's quite simply the fastest front-wheel drive hatchback ever produced. Using the same 296 brake horsepower turbocharged 1.8 litre engine as the regular Trophy, the R is 130 kilograms lighter thanks to carbon fibre body panels, thinner glass in the windows and a lightweight battery. The rear seats have been thrown out while the fronts have been replaced by thinner Alcantara-clad carbon items. This obsessive attitude to shedding kilos goes even further. The infotainment system has been replaced by a smaller unit from a regular Megane, shaving off 250 precious grams. There's even an optional air intake that replaces the front fog light, saving a further 2 kilos. This isn't simply a Megane RS that's been on the Atkins though. There's plenty of special kit to justify the price. You see, this is one very expensive hatchback. In standard trim, the Trophy R will set you back a hefty 51 grand, but add some options and the stripped out Renault can hit a staggering £72,000. So what do you get in your Porsche price Megane? Well, along with the bare bones interior, there's a smorgasbord of chassis tweaks, including new Öhlins dampers, a rear strut brace, 4-piston Brembo brakes, a limited slip differential, and some very sticky Bridgestone tyres. The aerodynamics have been fettled too. The front bumper features a bespoke splitter, which channels air through some underbody panels through the F1-inspired rear diffuser. The term Formula One derived technology gets bandied around a lot these days, but this isn't just some sales tactic from Renault's marketing team. The Trophy R's chief engineer worked on both of Fernando Alonso's championship-winning F1 cars. The diffuser looks like it came straight from a race car, with a beautiful pair of free-flowing Akrapovic exhaust tips sitting flush in the middle.
But how does it compare to the benchmark Honda Civic Type R? Well, at first glance, the Honda loses out on styling. We know that looks are subjective, but the Type R's accessorised exterior is certainly an acquired taste. It's covered in spoilers and aero bits with endless swathes of fake carbon fibre. The Renault is much sleeker, with bold curves staying true to the standard car, but with enough extensions and add-ons to look genuinely hardcore. Inside though, it's a win for the Honda. Iffy infotainment aside, we love the red seats and modern look. It's a lot plusher than the Renault too, with a much more conventional cabin. Our only real criticism is the rear wing hampering rearward visibility. Out on the road, the Civic is still a stunning car to drive. The power delivery is rapid throughout the rev range. It's sharp too, with what must be the cleverest differential in the class. The ride is very hard, but you forgive it when you go for a spirited drive because the chassis is sensational.
The Megane Trophy R is a more track-focused car, but for those drivers who really want to set some leading lap times, the optional Nürburgring record pack adds a stunning set of carbon ceramic brakes, giving incredible stopping power for fade-free track driving. And as the name of that pack suggests, it will allow you to try and match the car's recent Nürburgring lap record for front-wheel drive cars with a time of just 7 minutes and 40 seconds. In its ultimate spec, with all of the lightweight options and the lighter carbon wheels, 0 to 62 miles per hour drops by 0.3 seconds from the regular trophy to 5.4 seconds, while top speed is increased by 2 miles per hour to 163. This may all seem like overkill, especially as the Renault only beat the Civic Type R's old record by about 3 seconds, but only 500 are being built, and it's sure to be an investment for the future. It offers a raw experience for half the price of a GT3 RS or any kind of supercar. It may not be as quick in a straight line, but it's guaranteed to put just as big a smile on your face.
Join us again next week on AutoMundial as we take a look at a big V8 Jaguar, the F-Pace SVR.